Hey, this is John. I want to welcome you to week 3. Very excited to have you here in the 9 Secrets Implementation Coaching Program, which is just so exciting. Now, this week's going to be a really critical week for 2 reasons. The first reason is mentality. Like, one of the most important things, and it's something you probably picked up on by now, is mentality. Like, if you don't have the right mentality, then, I mean, I could teach you everything in the world. But if you know how to build a skyscraper, if you know how to lay bricks, or if you know, if you're building one of these big buildings and you want to know how to hire the people or contract out the people to do whatever has to be done, like, that's the work part of it, right? But for you to be able to do that, you have to actually know what you're supposed to do. You have to actually know who to hire. Like, if I was gonna build that building, I would have to know that, okay, I'm gonna need a contractor for this. I'm gonna need like 6 people to build this. I'm gonna need a construction company. And a lot of people, it's really interesting. They start out with their portfolios. It's kind of like this deer in the headlights thing where they have like this end goal they want to get to, right? So for me, like, if I was gonna build that building, I have this end goal of like, I want to have this giant building. It's gonna be a residential building. It's gonna be awesome. Same thing with the portfolio, right? I want to build this giant portfolio. It's gonna make tons and tons of money. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna, like, build my future. It's gonna be the best thing ever. You gotta like start to get there, right? And what most people do is they see this big end goal and they think, oh, I'll do it later. So it's really cool that you're here going through this, because some people don't even start the journey until it's way too late to start, and then they're like, oh crap, wait a minute, you're telling me that it takes time to compound my money? And it's just crazy. And anyway, so what I'm really excited to do is to give you like an actual base so that you know, okay, this is what you gotta do, this is what needs to work, and this is the basis that you need to start with. So when you do get to actually investing and growing that money, you have a very reliable and strong personal foundation in your mind where you know what's going on, and you turn that into success over the long term, which is really the goal, right? And so what I'm really excited to do is there's 1 or 2 things that are gonna be absolutely critical this week. And the first thing is establishing a sense of community, because community is just it's huge, it's massive. You already gone through the Win Friends and Influence People course, and we talk about this concept where, like, if you have like 1 person and you put them in a room with another person, you don't have the productive capacity of 2 people. You have the productive capacity of like 3. And if you do 1 plus 1 plus 1, you get 3 people. That's like 5 people, and it just grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. Because when you're working with more people, when you're like learning with more people, all of a sudden the effectiveness of what you're doing, it just skyrockets. It's like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times greater than anything you could ever do on your own. Because really, the best way you can learn is by doing what we're gonna go through. It's by implementing, investing, right? And like actually investing, right? So I consider all day I could give you 10,000 hours of lectures, but I mean, that's not gonna do I don't think even 1/10 of what just out there going and buying your first stock would. So really important that we start with community, because community does a couple things. First thing it does is it gives you a group of people that are like actually doing what you're trying to do. So you can see, okay, they're successful. What did they do to succeed? Okay, they did X, Y, Z. How can I do, A, B, C to get to the same result? How can I mimic what they've done? How can I, if they're succeeding by doing this, how can I do that to succeed? It's really kind of simple. I mean, to put it basically, I remember teach tons and tons of students when I was first starting out this journey. They would come to me and they'd be like, hey, what do you think about this stock? And I'm like, whoa, that's a really good stock. I'm gonna go buy that stock. And then I would like buy that stock, and it would, it would crush it. And it's all based on technical setups, right? It's not just like, maybe they're gonna report news or crap like that. It's gotta actually be solid. But when you like learn how to find those, opportunities, and then you like take advantage of those opportunities, all of a sudden what I started to notice was the community that I surrounded myself with, the people I surrounded myself with, was actually like making me money, which was crazy, because when I grew up, I was never, hanging out with the right crowd. Like, I would always have friends that would be getting in trouble or going out there and doing bad things. It was, I don't know, like, I just didn't think about it enough. I didn't selectively pick who I surrounded myself with. And because of that, at least early on, I had a lot of struggles where I would start to see the negative habits, the negative influence, the negativity that I had in the people I surrounded myself with, my friends, turn into my life. And it was a really big struggle where, like, when I was growing up, I didn't really want to do anything more I didn't want to, invest. I didn't want to learn things. I didn't want to do better. And for me, that manifested itself into like, I'm going to spend 12 hours a day working on school, and the only thing I'm going to do is homework or whatever, because I didn't have any motivation whatsoever to actually go out there and try things and do things and actually create an impact and do something that, mattered more so than, hours and hours and hours of science projects and stuff, which was fun. I mean, it's dope stuff. It's cool. But it all comes down to who you surround yourself with, right? And my parents, like, as soon as they were separated, later on divorced, that was really the defining moment, the wake up point for me, where it was like, wow, like my dad's gone. I have to be like the man of this house. I have to like actually do something. I have to actually step up and actually become something. And for me, that was really what started this whole journey of figuring out how to actually create real savings and retirements. And it changed everything. The reason why is because not only did I change my behavior, in the private sphere, but the biggest thing was I went out, I made new friends, and I made friends with people that would inspire me and help me become more and be more and succeed more. And I surrounded myself with people that were successes, that had the 2-3 commas in their bank accounts or whatever it is. And I remember I would join all these sporting groups and do all these after school stuff and go hard and go hard and go hard. And at any moment I had, I would always be looking for investing groups because I wanted to surround myself with the best people in the space that I could find. And that rubs off, that rubs off, that rubs off. I gotta say, for the first probably 2 years of my investing career, I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anyone I was doing it with. I didn't have anyone I was talking with. And those 2 years were the slowest growth years of my life. And the reason why is because when you're not alongside others that are in the same process that you're in, it just doesn't work as effectively, because you can only learn from either two people. You can learn from yourself and you can learn from your actions, or you can learn from people that have been there and done that. Starting out, I didn't have anybody that had been there and done that, so it was just me learning from myself. And the thing that is harsh is if you're just trying to do things on your own, you can learn as much as you want, but you only have a one lifetime of experience. For me, when I was starting out, I had only had a couple of years of experience investing. And so I was learning very incrementally on a year to year, but just learning from my mistakes. It was very, very slow and incremental. And only once I started to accept other people into my life and start to learn from other people did everything really, really, really start to change. And the reason why is because now, instead of trying to do it all on my own, but I didn't actually know how to do it, so I was just doing nothing effectively on my own, I surrounded myself with people that were doing things effectively. They're actually succeeding with investing. I said, wow, this is the strategy that that person said. Wow, this is the strategy that's, but wow. And obviously you get to filter out, negative people, get to filter out bad parts of your community, but that turns into so much growth, because now, instead of just being on your own, you're learning from one person, 2 people, 20 people, 30 people, and all of a sudden you have 30 lifetimes of information, of experience and of expertise right there in front of you, ready to help you. And that can manifest itself in terms of learning new strategies. That can manifest itself into secret investing tactics. But it could also just manifest itself in emotional support. I remember so many positions I've had that have kind of been swing trades, longer term trades, not as much 9 to noon active. They've been just killer investments. But when I started out with them, I lost money on them just a little bit, right? And I don't think, if I didn't have my peer group, if I didn't have my support group, if I didn't have the masterminds, if I didn't have the community I put around myself, positive reinforcement, I might have gotten out of those trades and, lost, just a little bit of money, and over time given up tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of gains. And so it's really critical that we start out here with the right community, because that's really the one thing that will last, longer than anything we're doing, or longer than any individual trade. It's a place where people come together, and all of a sudden everything shifts, because it's no longer just grinding. Now you're able to actually collectively grow with others. I mean, you start to work through investment opportunities with others, and it just works so much more effectively, especially when there's there's obviously a lot of studies on investing and investment committees specifically, just because if you can make a great investment committee or a great investment group, that's worth, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to, hundreds of thousands of people. There's a study, and they saw that there was 2 things that kind of impacted investing groups. And the first thing was how close they were together. And the second thing was how much they were kind of incentivized to succeed. What they found is that a lot of times when people start investing, and this is something I fell victim to when I was starting out, especially when I had the wrong community around me, is that people will You'll have everyone in a room together, everyone coming together. They will base investment decisions based off of social factors, right? So someone will come up to the front of the room and they'll pitch an investment, and everyone will be like, oh, wow, I like this person, I should support them, and be like, yeah, we'll give them money or whatever. And what it does is it creates this stigma where if you don't give people money, it feels like they're a failure, and it crushes the personal relationship. And so that's one thing that's a little bit challenging, especially when you're dealing with really close connections, or if you have friends around you, is like I don't really want to be talking to my friend who like lives next door to me, or goes to school, or goes to work, or whatever, or is a partner. Like, I don't really want to be talking to that person about very specific investments, unless they're like someone that, you know, we're friends with investing, right? But if we're not, if it's just like a friendly relation or friendly connection, like, I don't really want to be, I don't want to spend like 30 minutes trying to explain to my mom like why you should sell this stock or buy this stock or get out of this position or whatever. Like, it's just, I mean, I've tried and I tried to get her to kind of sell everything before the crash very, very recently. I mean, they just don't listen, right? And the reason why is, I don't know why. Like, it saved them like a lot of money. I remember I called my aunt up and I was trying to get her to sell her. She had about a third of her portfolio, like a freaking giant percent. I think it was, I mean, it was insane how much her portfolio is in Tesla. The stock like goes up by a factor of 6 in like 2 months. I call her, I'm like, get the hell out of this position, or at least partially sell. She just doesn't listen, and she loses like half her portfolio. I mean, it's like, she's like long term, but like it's money. It's anyway. My point here is that it's sometimes tough, especially when you're close with family or close with friends, to make these investing communities because of the personal connection, because of the social responsibilities that you have. And a lot of times people feel that the investments they make translate into their social lives in terms of like, if you sell something, that's a loss, or even if you're like making tons of money, or if I like tell you to do something, you're like, okay, I'll do it. It's like me having power over you. Not like, you know, not online, but I'm talking about in terms of personal connections. I've seen this happen over and over and over and over again, especially with students that I mentor in person. Is the relationship really comes, it is determined by the performance of assets, and that's not what you want, because what it does is it interweaves emotions into your investing. One of the biggest things that we're gonna focus on from this point forward for the rest of your, you know, investing career is and this is probably one of the first concepts I ever learned. I remember when I first started out, you know, I was like, oh, I'm gonna trade stocks, it's gonna be the coolest thing ever. And my parents were like, you can't trade stocks, you can't beat the market, blah, 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 blah. No one could ever beat them. Look at how all these active fund managers fail. And I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? And I remember some of the first people that inspired me to get in the space, like they had been making like just these like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of percent returns. I mean, at the time, I'd never experienced that before. You know, I saw that and I was like, if these guys can make a 15,000% return on this investment, you're telling me that I can't make 10% in a fucking year? And I was just like, I'm calling BS. Like, that is not legit. So when I was starting out though, I always had these people around me that were sort of this negative influence, at least at the beginning. Thankfully, it's changed, which is great. It's really nice. They're a lot better now, thankfully. And I remember there was always this emotion that was kind of tangled up with my investing, and it really, really, really dragged me down. And I had always kind of just not bothered about, you know, I didn't see that there was a big difference between like emotion and assets. I didn't really care about it. And it really limited my performance, but I didn't actually know about it until I started reading and starting to get more and more and more into learning about all, you know, this space, learning about everything there is to master. I remember over and over and over, paper after paper, you know, study after study, over the course of like decades, I saw the same thing coming up again and again and again and again and again. And it was that you cannot have emotions with your investments. Your investments cannot be tied into your emotions. The reason why is really simple. People are just fundamentally not as sound as, you know, a stock or a certificate or something like that, where you have these paper assets. They're not emotional people. It's a piece of paper. There are certificates that you can't see. They're like really old stocks, really old certificates of guarantee. Those are not going to, you know, they don't care about what somebody thinks about the news. They don't care about, anything. They're not people. And so it's absolutely paramount, especially when you're starting out. Because yeah, you know, like you want to be able to react to like, you know, big market events. And yes, you know, you want to be able to understand the psychology of something, especially if you have like this big crash, this big, you know, giant thing that comes out, or something really, really important happens in the market. And that's important. That matters. That's valid. But in a vast bulk of the sense of this idea, your investing needs to be completely and utterly separated from emotion, and it needs to be purely logical. And this is why I think somewhere around that, like a vast bulk of like Wall Street, you know, pro traders are managed. Just it's I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting theory. Really important that you separate sort of your investing from your emotions. And one of the big studies, one of the big things that was like, holy crap, this is so true for me. It didn't come when I first learned this concept. See, what happened is I first learned this concept of, you know, dissociating emotion from investing and investing solely on logic. You know, I first learned this concept. I was like, okay, I mean, I guess that makes sense. And I kept seeing it more and more and more. I started to apply it. I started to just, I would have an investment opportunity, and it would look great. Like I would think, wow, you know, emotionally, this is a great idea. This is gonna be phenomenal. But now I would step back and I would say, wait a minute. You know, maybe all of these hundreds of thousands of investors that have been here and done this exact same thing with a different company before me, like maybe they are actually smart. Maybe they actually learn things from decades of experience. Maybe they actually know what they're doing. And maybe, just maybe, they actually took a really big loss over an extended period of time because they made a decision based on emotion. And I thought about that, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna make this decision. I'm not gonna make this investment based off of emotion. And instead, I'm gonna make this investment based on logic. And I would step away. This is something that's really powerful, something you're gonna see me talk about a lot because it's very important. I would emotionally take my mind, put it in front of me, and I'd step away. You step away from the emotion and you look at it from a neutral third person through a logical point of view, and you say, look, is this a good investment? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? When you do that, it changes everything. And I started to apply this very, very slowly, and all of a sudden I would make investments based off emotion and they would do awful, and then I would make investments based off of logic and they would do amazing. And we'll get more into fundamental analysis as we kind of get deeper, but it's really important. This is like one of the most important foundation. This is the base. You cannot invest based off of emotion. It has to be based on logic, because at the end of the day, there are going to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of transactions or of computers that are just sitting there trying to, you know, arbitrage the markets or trade the bid and the ask or stuff like that. And those guys make hundreds of millions of dollars. Why? They do it because the emotion is completely gone. It's done by freaking computers, you know? The profit margin on it is very, very, once you learn what I have to teach you, you're gonna be like, wow, that's crap, in like 99% of cases. But like, that's one of those examples, right, where the emotion is gone and it's just money, right? And that's what I need you to, because it's tough, because next week we're gonna dive a lot deeper into this and the secrets of the millionaire. Like, we're gonna go really hardcore. Next week is gonna be, it's gonna be really big in terms of emotion. We're gonna tackle this a lot deeper, but it's so critical that you just understand that you've got to cut that emotion from your investing. And it's something that we're gonna look at more and more, especially as we get deeper into this. And like, everything I'm gonna teach you is not based off, like, a vast bulk of it is all technical. It's all based off of logic that works. And once you have that, it's just so much easier. So I'm sorry I had a little bit of a tangent there, but that is really important. It's one of the most important psychological hacks or the secrets that I didn't discover for years. And once you discover it, all of a sudden, it's so much easier. And anyway, so I've been doing this for years and years, just investing based on logic, and it's been working exponentially better than emotion. And I saw this study, and I could not believe this study. It was crazy. I remember what I was doing is, I mean, this is gonna sound stupid. It's gonna be funny for you probably, but not as funny for me. I was was like learning, I was reading this book on dating, and I was like getting this dating advice, and I was in like, I was probably like 3/4 of the way through this book, and it was just like, it was like, you know, like what you normally expect, like be confident, go do stuff, you know, that's it, good job, have fun. I'm like, dude, are you serious? I'm about to put this book down, this is crap, like, come on. And I get towards the end of this book, and they have this, there's like 2 pages out of this like multi-100-page book, and they talk about this study that this big, I think it was maybe it was Chicago, they did it, this really big firm on Wall Street where they employed like hundreds of day traders. The study was really simple. What they did is they looked, they wanted to measure dopamine, right? So they looked the distance between, they had all these traders, all these, like this giant number of traders, and they looked at the distance between, you know, their pointer finger and their ring finger. They looked at the distance between their pointer finger and their ring finger. And there were 2 options, okay? So 2 things that could happen. The first thing is one of your fingers can either be, can be like a lot shorter than the other finger. Not a lot shorter, but like they're not even, right? Like one of the fingers is noticeably shorter than the other one. That's one of the options, okay? And the other option is that the fingers are basically the same length. So the pointer finger and the ring finger are basically the same length. And it depends a little bit on how you kind of like, you know, you can move your fingers left, you can move your fingers right. But like if they're basically straight, your fingers are basically straight, you want to, like the distance between the pointer finger and the ring finger, okay? Now mine are pretty close. I would say they're like basically even. It kind of depends. I think this ring might mess it up a little bit, but yeah, they're basically even, okay? And what they found with this study, after looking at all these traders, and then analyzing all those traders' portfolios and the results they've been creating over, I think it was a 5-year span on this study, looking back at their history, is they found a very staggering correlation. And the reason why, at least what they concluded from the study, was that when you're in the womb, right, when you're being born, at least I don't know if this works for women. I really don't know, but like 95% of these traders were men, so that's just how it played out. And there wasn't enough women to make any kind of statistically significant, you know, you just couldn't tell. So anyway, when you're in the womb, what happens is, you know, you get fed dopamine, right? Or not dopamine, what's testosterone, sorry, not dopamine, testosterone. It was because that was why I was in the dating book, because it was talking about testosterone and stuff like that. And when you have testosterone in the womb, it grows your whole body, right? But it has a little bit of an effect. They've done, you know, thousands of studies on this, and they found that the more testosterone in your womb, the further apart your ring finger and your pointer finger are. So less testosterone in the womb means that your pointer finger and your ring finger are very similar in length, like they are at the same length. And I first read this, I was like, what? How does that even work? That makes no sense. But apparently they looked at all these guys. I think like, I don't know what the proportions were. I think it's maybe like 50-50. Like like half of them were like even, and it was kind of like the same, and the other half of them, like one of the fingers was like noticeably shorter, like the ring finger or the pointer finger, one of the 2 fingers was noticeably shorter. And what they found is that the shorter that it was, you know, the more testosterone that you had in the womb, the manlier you were in the womb. So, you know, if one of your fingers is a lot shorter than the other one, it means that and it's not like a big deal. It's not gonna, I mean, you have control over your future, you have control over your body. But what they found is that means that, you know, in the womb, you were naturally exposed to more testosterone, which is supposed to be like super great for women, right? Some dumb luck that gave me, right? Even fingers. But here's the cool part, okay? This is the part that made me go like, I was like, holy shit. I was like, oh my God. Then they took that information, they put it in a spreadsheet, and they said, okay, is the, you know, more testosterone or less testosterone, right? You know, close fingers or farther apart, ring finger and pointer finger. And they put it all in the spreadsheet. And then next to, you know, each of the names, they put like, okay, what is their average cumulative returns over the look back period of 5 years? What is their average daily volatility? What is their average gain? What's their average loss? And they analyze. And what they realized was that a vast bulk, like almost all of the most successful traders in this firm, were individuals that had close together pointer fingers and ring fingers. And they were individuals that had sort of been inherently exposed to lower levels of testosterone. These traders had higher returns, they had less downside, they had less risk, they had less deviation, and they had more consistency over time. They were just all around better investors. They performed better. They outperformed by a vast, significant margin. Now, please, if one of your fingers is shorter than the other one, please don't let this be a deterrent. I promise it's not a big deal. Once you understand this and once you recognize it, all you have to do is work, right? And all you have to do is understand that, look, it's really, really basic. More testosterone can sometimes halt our abilities to judge by logic, right? It can stop us from using logic as a key judgment frame. And it can accidentally put us in a state of mind where we're judging based off of emotion. That's just kind of how testosterone, gets you in the mood, right? Just kind of how it works. And so all you have to do is just recognize that and understand that one of the most important things you can do as an investor is to sort of overcome natural tendencies to have that knee-jerk emotional reaction and instead play based on logic. Because the worst thing that can ever happen is that you play based off of emotion, you make an investment based off of emotion, then it goes against you, and then you're like a deer in the headlights because you have no clue what to do because you didn't think about the logic of the investment before you got into it. And so it's massively critical that with anything that you do, you don't make investments emotionally. You don't pick up a phone and call somebody and ask them what they think about an investment. You don't go into a community and ask them what they think about an investment and then make an investment based on that shit. Like, you have to do the background, you have to do the research. And you have to make the investment based off of the technicals, not based off of emotion. I remember really recently, I made a pretty sizable position, making a pretty moderate medium-term swing bet that Amazon was gonna go down a bunch because, gone up a bunch, it was in this upward wedge, and then, goes down a bunch. And I remember I made the investment, and it was with options, which, you learn about, whatever. And I made it on a Friday, and I made it at 340 or something. For the past hour before that, I called 6 people and asked them what they thought about this stock. And then I got out my phone and I bought the puts, I bought the contracts, and got in the position. And not once did I look at a stock chart, which was the stupidest thing that I could have ever done. I mean, it was just, I couldn't believe I did it. I was just crazy dumb. Because I didn't use any logic to look at the freaking stock price, which is what most people do. Most people just put in their order and they pray that it's gonna do well because they think emotionally that a company is gonna succeed, which can work in the long term, but it's not a reliable or a really effective investment strategy. You've gotta know what the hell you're doing. And the way you do that is really simple. You just use logic. Whether that logic is reading annual reports or looking at charts, especially with with shorter term stuff, you wanna look at charts. You need that. It can't be emotion. And to kind of illustrate this, I wake up on Monday the next week. I was kind of in this nice little sunny beachy place. It was really nice. And I go and I sit on the porch, and around me there's bees everywhere, there's trees everywhere, kind of trees coming on over the balcony. I can hear the sea is kind of rifting in over the waters, and it's super early because I always get up super early. So it's kind of pitch black, but it's also just a little sliver of light. So I pull up my phone and I look at Amazon stock, and they had got up a bunch before the market even opened that day. And I was like, oh my God, what? And so then I read a little bit. I read books and stuff, not about Amazon news or anything. It was just a little bit, but anyway, I wait a little bit, market opens, and I think by the end of the day on the next month, the very next trading day, that position was down 60%. I mean, it was really bad. It was terrible. It was probably one of the worst things I've ever done. And it was a speculative bet. It was a smaller position, a much smaller. I mean, but I mean, it wasn't really it was big. The reason it was the contracts were really expensive. They were $2-4 grand a piece. I mean, it was and then they went to 500 over the next week. And I just closed out a bunch of it at I think a 77% loss. And I'm sweating because I'm so sad about it. But I know that there's gonna be more potential with it. And I know the position had 40x upside and still has 40x upside. So I'm just waiting for a little bit of a reversal and and it's, you'll learn about it more in technicals when you get into technicals. But for me, I will risk, 40% to make 40x, any day, if it has reasonable probability of happening. And for me, this was a position that had about a 60 to 80% probability of happening. So anyway, you'll learn more about that when we get into technicals. My point here is that one of the biggest things with investing that's often glanced over is execution. Execution can literally make or break your investing career. Like once you have the strategies and the tactics and the secrets, all that is left is execution. And for me, my execution on this investment was awful. And in the medium to longer-ish term, like I'm pretty damn confident I'm gonna be right about it. And I have big bets that I will be right on it coming in the future. But in the short term, it was terrible, terrible, terrible execution because I based the investment on emotion. I based it on what do other people feel about the company. Anytime that you use the word feel in your investing research, you got a problem. You really need to take a moment to step back and ask yourself, am I making this investment based off of emotion or logic? And it needs to be logic. It needs to be logic, okay? And so with that said, I hope that that is kind of, ushered you into this and kind of open up your eyes, because when I started, I didn't understand that at all. I was like constantly asking people what they think about Nike stock, what they think about these shoes, what they think about, do you think this looks cool or not? And I would ask people that knew nothing about the market if they thought I should sell this stock or buy this stock or blah, 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 blah. And it was just crap. I mean, the results were, they were decent. The financial, it was like, okay, I was making more than the market by like a factor of 3, but it was still like, it wasn't anywhere near what it could have been. And so it's really important that you surround yourself with the right community of intelligent individuals that can help you get to that next point. And then also you invest based off of logic, not so much emotion. And so that's kind of why I want to do something really important this week. And I wait until the third week to do it. The reason why is because a lot of people, they get 9 to noon and they come into the implementation program and they don't actually have like a legitimate commitment to their success. They don't actually have a deep burning desire to win with their investments. And so I'm putting at the end of this message, at the end of this video, because there are people that will literally watch half of this video and like stop. And those are not the kind of people that I want in my, investing community. And, you shouldn't either, right? Like those are people that like spend 7 minutes researching something and then they quit because, it was too hard to do. And then they move on to the next, make a ton of money doing blah, 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 blah. And it's like, those aren't the people that are really gonna know what they're talking about when it comes to like fundamental corporate research or technical research or everything that you're gonna learn as you go through 9 to noon and how to apply all of that. You don't want to be surrounded with people that are using the tools maybe not as effectively, or maybe they're trying to fasten you screwdriver in like a screw, with a screwdriver, but they're using like a wrench to do that. Like they're using the wrong tool, or they're doing something just in a very, very ineffective way. Like that's not the people that you should want in your community. So thankfully that's not you, because you're here and you're going through this process and you're learning this information, which is like phenomenal and groundbreaking. So what I want to invite you to do is below this video, there's gonna be a big button, or maybe it'll be a subtle button because it's a secret. Basically what it's gonna be is gonna be a link to join the private Facebook group for 9 to noon clients. And this basically is going to be the community, it's gonna be the mastermind, it's gonna be the goal, this is gonna be the tool that is gonna like pump you up to that next level. And it's a bonus that I never, ever, ever advertise anywhere, because first of all, just think about any mastermind community of successful investors, it's immeasurably valuable. It's like, I just can't even describe the people I've surrounded. When you have someone who's got like tens and tens, hundreds of millions of dollars in portfolio telling you like, hey, you should probably do that. Like, it's just insane. Because mentorship and community really is the next step to change absolutely it's just everything. And so what I want to do is I want to give you access to this 9 to noon, the Facebook group. What's cool is like you can see this people there, investment ideas there, and people actually who please don't post in there until you've gone through like the program and you actually know kind of what you're talking about. But like if you want to chime in on stuff, 100%. What's cool is that you can post put something out there. Be like, hey, I think this is a cool potential investment, or hey, I think this could be a really worthwhile, 4-month trade or 2-week trade, or hey, I heard that this was really there's gonna be a really fast move in this industry, or hey, there's a really nice technical setup on this stock. People post stuff like that, and now all of a sudden, instead of scrolling through cat videos, you're looking at like, oh wow, these are like 10 really nice, potential investment opportunities that are coming from some of the best people in the space. And that's kind of what I want to give you, is that community and those people to connect with and to grow with and to invest with in the private Facebook group, which is super, super cool. So all you have to do is just click and log into, I guess, whatever, and then sort of join the private community, join the chat group, join the group, and just get in there, start learning, start connecting with people that are there and that are already succeeding, they're already investing, because this is a tool that honestly should help you last and should last for decades, and really be able to give you that place you can always come back to where it's like, what are people saying about these stocks? Or, ask questions like, hey, do you guys think this is a great setup or not? Or, help someone out and they're like, hey, I think this could be a really nice setup. What do you guys think? Like, it's this collective group. So instead of it just being like one person asking one question to themselves, or me saying like, what do I think about this one stock? If instead, you can get like 10 different or 100 different people giving in their perspective on what they think about something, a very logical basis, all of a sudden it's way easier. And the reason it's way easier is because you connect with these people over the internet, like you don't know each other, right? And so there's no emotional connection. There's no, we're gonna be at the beach this weekend together. We're gonna go golfing together this weekend, and I need to be very careful about what I tell you. That doesn't exist when you have this kind of community. And instead, it's all purely based on logic. And that's really the magic. That's the spark. And once you combine that with technical analysis and fundamental analysis, it becomes so much easier to have investing success. And so that's one of the really, really big things that I want to give you as a client, whether or not you stick with me or not. This is something that will serve you for the rest of your life, undoubtedly. I know it will give you an immeasurable amount of value. So just click below. It's only $15,000 a second to join. It's no, I kid. Just it's free, whatever, not a big deal. You get it as a client, and I'm excited to share that with you. So make sure you get in the group or add it to your Facebook group. So I don't use Facebook that much, to be honest. The only reason I use it is for this private mastermind, and the reason why is because every time I use it, all of a sudden I make money because I find really great investment opportunities and really great trades. And so that's probably the most important thing that we can do here. So with that said, thanks so much. Join the group and see what people are posting about. Maybe help some people out, give them a perspective, give them, hopefully, you'll learn as you learn and you learn and you learn. It'll become a lot easier to chime in and to post potential positions. And definitely also, please, if you make $1 bajillion, post about it, because I think that's awesome and I want to see people succeed. And I also firmly and completely believe with absolute conviction that when students and when clients, when they see people succeeding in the group, it inspires them to succeed, which makes them, make a bunch of money, and then they can share all the success they're having. And that is just this recycling circle of people succeeding and doing really, really well. And it just turns into more and more success. It like snowballs, right? So like when you have that one person make their first $1 million, all of a sudden that can inspire 10 more people to go out and make their first $1 million. And then all of a sudden that can inspire 100 more people to go out there and make their first $1 million. And now it just grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. And so, alongside like actual research and potential opportunities, please, successes are just one of the best things you can use to inspire those around you. Because what's cool is what I'm giving you is a community. What I'm giving you is basically people. The more you give into a connection, into a mastermind, into a collection of relationships, the more you will get out of it, right? And it's very, very much based on reciprocity. If you can add a ton of value in other people's lives, you can add a ton of value, giving your thoughts, or add a ton of value sharing your successes, that's gonna come back to you tenfold, hundredfold, thousandfold. And I've seen it happen over and over again, where you just have a little bit of success and you post just about your little bit of success, and then maybe if it's like your first investment that ever does well, you post about that, you get a ton of positive feedback on that, and now all of a sudden it's like that motivation and that mental strength to go and to push and to pound and to really have those really big wins and that massive success over time. So that's really the key, and something I'm really excited to share with you. Very much am excited to sort of develop this connection with you, or at least in the group, as you stick with the group. So with that said, thank you so much for watching this module. Really appreciate it. Congratulations now on getting access to the private Facebook investing mastermind, which is so exciting. So I'll see you there and in the next module. Thanks. Bye.